Risk is a big thing that a lot of barbers are fearing and are avoiding by staying and keeping their income at the same level. A lot of barbers avoid risk of taking chances in their business to push and scale forward. Scaling a business requires you to take a risk. Now, you cannot be a dumbass and risk raising your prices without the proper data and knowing what's going to happen, what price to go up to, what's going to happen afterwards, and how long it's going to take to fill the business back up again. Yet, every single barber does not do this at all. And they raise prices up blindly and raise prices acting like it's Russian roulette. And when you play Russian roulette, it only takes one bullet to end your life. It only takes one price raise to end your business. Your new client flow is going to tank. Your income's going to tank. Your clients are going to go to a different barber. That's the reality of it. Because literally all business is taking calculated risks and failing at some and then learning what not to do and how to take better risks down the line. So lesson number one, for a lot of you that know me, I've been very transparent about just some losses that happened in my life. One of the biggest ones being that when I was 21 years old, my father had cancer. So the cancer came back in his life. He had cancer come back at the first time when I was a junior when it came up the first time when I was a junior in high school. It was literally right before I was about to take the SAT exam, right, in high school. So I was like all mentally fucked up from that. Went to remission the first time, which was really, really good. We're really happy he beat it. He was a very healthy man overall. He worked out every single day, got up at 4 a.m., very religious on his health, very health conscious. And so it kind of just took us a surprise that he actually got cancer, right? It was like, oh, how does a healthy guy, even though he was maybe the first time when he came in, I think he was around 58, 59 maybe. It was kind of still like a big shocker to everybody because he was one of the healthiest people that everybody knew. And he took care of his body really, really well. However, a couple years after that, of course, the cancer comes back. Doctors go ahead and look at it. Bill is like, no problem. You can go ahead and beat this out. We're going to go and do a couple test drugs, right? Turns out a couple months down the road when that did not work out, eventually they figured out it was actually much worse than they would expected in terms of what stage it was in. And at that point in time when they caught it, they basically gave him 6 months left to live. And 6 months turned only into, I think, maybe 4 days, right? And he passed away 4 days later after we got that news. So that, of course, at a 21-year-old's age, just becoming a man, just figuring out my life, moving out, figuring out what I need to do business-wise, that took a very big toll on me. I reflected a lot back on that because here was my dad, my father, the person I looked up to the most, now removed. And now I have a data point, right? Now I have an understanding of someone who has lived their life and the thing has come to an end. Now what? This thing ends. And whether or not you know, we all risk something. Whether you choose to risk something or you choose to stay comfortable, you are risking something. Because for my father, I saw that he, of course, had a couple of kids and he risked his own, dreams to make sure he can provide for his kids. And that's what he was giving up, right? But at the very end of his life, he had nothing to give us. We actually had to come out of pocket on the funeral. We had to start a GoFundMe for the funeral. We didn't have enough money to go ahead and do that. And that's what he risked. But at the very end of everything, he couldn't provide even to make sure he was taken care of and make sure that we were taken care of, didn't have to worry about added expenses onto his life. The biggest breakdown of this is you risk your life's potential by not choosing, and you risk your ego by choosing, potentially failing. And I think a lot of barbers, even myself, we are so afraid at first when we first become business owners to actually take a risk, to start pushing the business forward. But by choosing not to risk anything, by choosing not to scale the business forward, by choosing not to learn how to scale the business forward, by choosing I'm just rather stay right here, you are risking everything you've ever wanted in life. Because I don't believe anybody's ever wanted it comes from a place of complacency. Especially when you're a barber, cutting for 12 hours of the day, making $4K a month, $6K a month, $8K a month for the rest of your life. Because again, too, this thing is going to end. And you are always risking something. What are you risking by not taking your business more seriously? What are you risking by being too afraid to start pushing your business forward, by taking the next steps, by investing into an educational program, by learning how to market your business, by learning business overall? What are you risking by going back home at night, playing video games, smoking weed, watching porn until 2, 3 a.m. at night? With your friends who aren't doing anything else, what are you risking by doing that, right? Because I can tell you the only thing you're going to risk if you decide to go with a different path if you decide to go ahead and get up off your ass and move forward, is the potential of failing and looking like a dumbass for ego purposes. Your ego might get hurt. I failed. So what? I'd rather fail and fall flat on my ass than be hanging around people who are up until 3, 4 a.m. watching porn, smoking weed, playing video games, staying consistent and comfortable, and complaining about everything else in their life is a bunch of bullshit. Or complaining about the position they're in their life. Or complaining about the lack of money they have. Or complaining about everything else. I refuse to do that. The risk of failing is so much less than actually risking the potential I have in my life. Than actually risking what I could potentially become in my life by just staying complacent. By just staying comfortable. So that was lesson number 1 for me. We're all risking something. And this thing comes to an end. And at some point in time, you will run out of time to actually take that risk. You will run out of time to actually make a risk. And actually, because like whenever you take a risk, it's not boom, you take the risk, boom, you get the result. It takes time. So when are you going to actually start acting upon what you actually want instead of staying consistent and staying complacent, especially as a barber? Especially as a barber. When are you going to get out of your fears? You run a business now. You're playing the game of business. There's the game of business holds no emotional ties to you. It does not care who you are. It does not care about you at all. It doesn't care about your feelings. The game is the game. And you just decide to play the game. And you have to decide, are you actually going to play by the game's rules? Or are you going to sit on the sidelines and complain because you're not getting the playing time that you want? Are you going to complain about the coach for not putting you in the game? Or are you actually going to say, you know what, I'm not doing my job. I'm practiced, I'm not doing my job. In my off time, I'm not doing my job. Because that's what you're risking.